Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you why I stopped visualizing. This is a very powerful manifestation technique taught by a lot of very well-known and well-respected thought leaders and spiritual teachers. At that time, I was reading a lot of Joe Dispenza and Dr. Maxwell Maltz and listening to Abraham Hicks on YouTube, and I had an audiobook and things like that, and they're all saying kind of the same thing. They're saying you can sort of change your destiny, you can change your reality with the power of your intention, the power of focusing and honing in your thoughts and creating kind of like a vibrational momentum that will eventually be reflected in your future. And it seems sound, and what I found is this. I found that it did seem to work. The more I did it, what I would do every day to be exact is I would wake up early every morning and I would meditate and I would see myself living and feeling and experiencing a life situation that I envisioned in the future. At the time, I was living in Michigan and it was cold. I wasn't living my purpose. I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do with my career. I wasn't making the money I wanted to make. I didn't have the physique I wanted. All these things were not ideal, right? And I was seeing myself, visualizing myself way up ahead in the future. Living in San Diego was where I wanted to be, with the beautiful sunshine and the ocean. I wanted to be a professional YouTuber. I had all these different goals that I was encompassing into my visualization. And what I found happened is that it really did seem to create what I would explain as best I can is like a vibrational or energetic momentum. My life started shifting and changing. Certain things started falling away. I started seeing everything with a completely new perspective because I was setting myself up to get to the goal, this envisioned distant future of mine. But there was a side effect. Something happened along the way that caused me to choose to at least attempt to stop visualizing. There were some unforeseen problems. Mainly, and the reason I'm making this video is what happened is I started to become very discontent in my life. Because I was so focused on where I wanted to go, I couldn't help but accept, it was in my face, the fact that nothing that was going on in my life was really a match for where I wished I was. And it was almost like I started seeing my life through kind of like in a negative light, you could say. And I just became unhappy, quite frankly. And then eventually I realized like, dude, you have a family. You have beautiful children. You're alive. You can breathe. You don't have cancer. You don't have any crazy disease or anything. You're not on the streets. And I kind of woke up out of this like depression that I was putting myself in on purpose by focusing too much on the future. And what I did is I took a page out of Bashar's book. I don't know if you know Bashar. He's like an ET channeler, someone I've really been following and applying his philosophies in my life ever since I had my spiritual awakening, which is like 10, 15 years ago. Anyway, Bashar is a very different idea about how to manifest stuff. And it's very simple, and I'm going to share it with you, and maybe you can see how it works for you. He says, listen, your higher self knows what you want. You don't have to continue to let them know over and over and over through visualization. He does go on to say, listen, visualization is a valid permission slip, meaning it's a technique that if you believe it, it'll work like anything in life. He said, but here's what I would recommend. Take it for what you will, according to Bashar. He said, do it one time. Tune in, get clear, and clearly put out to the universe what you want, and then let it go. Don't let it occupy your entire life. Let it go and live your life and trust it'll happen. And I'll give kind of a funny example. Something really interesting happened after I started to do this. I started to kind of wake up to the fact that a lot of the things, a lot of the qualities that I was hoping this future scenario was going to give me were already present in my life. And I'll give kind of a funny little side note. One of the things I really look forward to when I got to San Diego in the future was being able to having the freedom, essentially, to getting to wake up every morning and drive to the beach and walk along the beach listening to an audiobook. There was a guy on YouTube I used to watch named Elliot Hulse, and he would do this every day. He called it feeding his inner magician every day. And I was like, dude, that would be awesome. And anyway, so I had this whole very particular scenario in mind. I'd be at the beach, the sun would be out, etc. And I started to ask myself, well, what is it about that experience that is so important to me? Is it the sunshine, the beach? Yeah, that would be nice, I couldn't deny. But what it came down to is the freedom and the simple daily routine, the daily habit of going for a walk every morning. And that's exactly what I did. In the dead of winter, I lived in Michigan, it was freaking cold, snow everywhere. I got up, I literally put on a snowsuit. It was that cold. I put on an actual like children's almost snowsuit, and I listened to an audiobook and I went for a walk. And you know what happened? I had the best time. I was able to kind of have that experience now, in my now moment, once I opened my eyes to what was already there. Another thing I kind of associated with being in San Diego, come to find was right there in my city, was nature. I imagine me like walking along the beach and going on hikes and up the mountains and just being in nature, having the feeling, the peace and the serenity of kind of basking in the nice vibes of nature. And I wanted that so bad because at the time I was living in a city called Royal Oak, Michigan, and Royal Oak was like it's a downtown area. It's like a concrete jungle. You know, I had neighbors on all sides of me, telephone poles going through my freaking backyard, real small lots, and we were right adjacent to a downtown area. So I wanted nature badly, and I didn't think there was anything near me. But once I went on those walks, once I started doing the best with what I had and started counting my blessings instead of wishing myself into the future, the funny thing happened. Just down the road from my house, I found this beautiful oasis of nature. It was an abundance of trees, there were no people, there was a lovely pond. In fact, a lot of my earlier YouTube videos from years ago, I filmed right in front of that pond, and there was animals and deer and frickin' bunnies frolicking all over the place. Now, the thing was, dude, it was a cemetery. I'll just admit that, but it didn't matter because it had that nature feel. It gave me the essence right away of what I was deeply longing for, that my mind thought I had to wait to achieve or accomplish or experience. Once I opened my eyes to what was already there, I realized it's already there. It was a simple like 2-minute walk from my house. And I lived in that house for about 3 years, oblivious to what was already there because I was so future focused. And then lastly, the funny thing is, once I kind of let things go, things did accelerate, literally, and I could not have planned this. 6 months later, we had sold our home. I had shifted it into becoming a full-time YouTuber. We had moved out to San Diego, and I had this exact sort of picture perfect, my vision came to a complete fruition just 6 months later. But that was after I let everything go and started living my life. And that's kind of, I even hear that from Abraham Hicks before. I've heard her say something like, don't meditate all day like a lot of the yogis tell you to, even though it's all valid, obviously. I like to meditate. She said, meditate for just 15 minutes because you're meant to live your life. Bashar says, don't spend all day passively wishing yourself somewhere else in existence, but open your eyes and live your life. It's all here. Life, the mechanics of our life and reality already work. So anyway, I didn't share this with you to tell you what to do. I just wanted to share my experience and my perspective. And to this day, I still use visualization. In fact, I did it just the other day with some buddies. It was fantastic. But I do it in a different dosage. I don't focus on it too heavily, and I use it in conjunction with being present and, most importantly, grateful. Grateful. Through my experience of having a spiritual awakening and trying a lot of different manifestation techniques, I've been able to shift my life a lot of different times and manifest a lot of the things I never even thought I would have. And one of the main things I realized is that no matter what I got, what I received, what I manifested, as awesome as it is on paper, it never really seems to change how I feel inside. Wherever I go, wherever we go, there we are. And I found out that what I really wanted was like more happiness, more peace, more love, more connection with my brothers and sisters and family and friends. And all of that is none of that is dependent on a particular circumstance the mind can sort of conjure up. And I started to really focus on the inside more than trying to change and modify the outside. And then ironically, as I mentioned, as I did this, then things do kind of tend to shift even more quickly than before, but in the end, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like a secondary little bonus icing on the cake. So with that said, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you thought about it, and come back for more. I share videos on the spiritual awakening process, the different ascension symptoms, the Kundalini. I do full moon energy updates as well. So a lot of cool stuff on the channel. If you dig it, if not, totally cool. And I wish you well, my friend. Peace.